This image is nightmare fuel for Caitlin Clark's haters because they know everything just changed. Let me explain. They thought they had Caitlin on the ropes. She was struggling, injured, and the Fever were floundering without her. They thought Diana Taurasi's reality is coming prophecy was finally coming true. They smelled blood and piled on with petty jabs. But the Fever's Commissioner's Cup win flipped the script. Nobody saw it coming, especially ESPN, who absolutely humiliated themselves. I'll get to them in a moment. But this win transformed the landscape for Caitlin and the Fever in 3 major ways. And if we've learned anything, it's this: the more success Caitlin has, the more the war against her intensifies. And Caitlin's post-game statement, "Just wait, it might turn out to be a prophecy." Let's break down what happened, the reaction from the haters, and what's coming next. But first, drop in the comments to celebrate the Fever's win. First things first, this is what Fever fans envisioned back in May. But nobody expected heading into the Commissioner's Cup final at the start of the year. The Fever were hyped as contenders. They brought in big-name free agents, ran the Now You Know campaign, basically telling the rest of the league, "We run this now," and of course, they had Caitlin Clark stronger, smarter, and ready to take over. They opened with a bang, demolishing Chicago in front of 2.7 million viewers. Then things spiraled: controversy, injuries, Dana pulling a Peter Gibbons and stopping all effort while still collecting a paycheck. Caitlin returned like a superhero against the Liberty, only to get mauled at Gamebridge the next game in what looked more like a UFC event than a basketball game. Then came the groin injury against Seattle, suffered in garbage time. That kept her out of the Commissioner's Cup. So yeah, the Fever weren't supposed to beat the Lynx and ESPN. They had one of the biggest cell phones in broadcast history.
ESPN posted, I think around the 3rd quarter, at least that's when I was notified about it, that the Lynx dominate the Fever to win the Commissioner's Cup. And I took a screenshot. This is totally my screenshot, so I went and I verified this because I just couldn't believe it.
I verified it myself. ESPN ran assuming the Lynx would win and kept it up the entire game. Only changed it after the final headline buzzer. Absolutely embarrassing, but without Caitlin. The Fever showed what they're made of. After a rough start, they ripped off an 18-0 run and never looked back. Natasha Howard said she wanted to be McPenn. She backed it up. That's manifestation. The Fever hit ESPN with the no reverse. They dominated the best team in the league in their building. Without Caitlin Clark and haters, they couldn't handle it. Because Caitlin, without even playing, just became a champion.
The only strike against Caitlin Clark is that she has not won a national championship. And that is the only thing that you can put against her.
The main knock on Caitlin has always been she hasn't won a championship. That's what kept her off ESPN's list of the greatest college players of all time. Even though she rewrote every record book and carried an average Iowa team to back-to-back national title games, the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark debate has always been silly. But this was the big talking point. Angel has a college title and an unrivaled championship. Caitlin, 0, so she couldn't be better. Well, not anymore. But of course, the haters are now scrambling with excuses. It doesn't count. She didn't play in the final. Let's break that logic real quick.
They did win the final without her. But it's not like she's Nikola Topic or anything. The only reason they got to the final was because she had a 32-point near triple-double against the New York Liberty. They beat the previously undefeated New York Liberty after a Caitlin Clark masterclass in a game no one thought they were going to win.
Caitlin got the Fever to the final. She played lights out against the Liberty and made key contributions against the Sun, but somehow, that's not enough. Meanwhile, Angel Reese didn't even play in the unrivaled final. She wasn't in the building. Yet the media and fans flooded social with graphics celebrating her as a 2-time champ. So let me get this straight. Angel gets a title she didn't play for, and that's totally legit. But Caitlin helps win a Commissioner's Cup, and it's suddenly fake. Sure, Jan.
The real fans, all right? Capitalize the real fans of the W will find out what backroom deal YouTube made to have the Lynx throw this game. Not even cracking 60 points. That isn't even believable to the most naked eye. When we find out, we're coming for your jobs. Full force.
Here's where it gets worse for the haters. The Fever beat the 14-2 Lynx, the best team in the league. on their floor. Without Caitlin, it's proof of concept. The Fever's veteran additions were delivered. Natasha Howard dominated. Sophie Cunningham was clutch. Aaliyah and Lexi are having breakout years. This team isn't perfect, and yes, fans can still criticize coaching, but the momentum is real. This win changed the season for Indiana in 3 ways. First, it takes the pressure off. Winning solves everything. Sophie Cunningham recently said players felt isolated like they were on islands. But a title brings people together. It gives them swagger again. And now, with Ari McDonald in the fold and Bonner out, this is a new Fever team. Second, it gives Caitlin time. There's no need to rush her back. Fans were already begging the Fever to shut her down until she's 100%. After the cup win, that becomes more likely. And they immediately signaled that mindset by ruling her out a full day before the Aces game. Smart. Third, when she returns, she'll be joining a team that's confident, clicking, and playing with purpose. She won't have to carry the load right away. That's huge. Add in some cap flexibility and possible trade upgrades. That's terrifying for everyone else.
Caitlin Clark finished 9th in player voting. In fact, she finished behind one of her own teammates in player voting for the All-Star game. The pettiness has no bounds.
Remember, the players ranked Caitlin as the 9th best guard in All-Star voting. They didn't literally rank her 9th, but they placed her behind 8 others. That's absurd. She's getting doubled every game. She's impacted every defensive scheme. Her shooting slump can be attributed to injury and overuse. There's no way she's not in the top 3. That vote was a message. And now that message has been returned to sender.
America loves her. The fans clearly love her. The media likes her. But the players can't stand her. 9th best guard in the league. Don't try to give me the excuses of, well, she's been struggling lately, or she missed some games with injury. Come on. This is insanity. And I think it's an activist vote by the women of the WNBA who simply cannot stand her success. It's so dumb and it's so childish.
With this win, everything's changed. The Fever get to slow play Caitlin's return. They're back in the playoff race, and most importantly, the haters are panicking. Not because of Caitlin's skills, they've seen that, but because she and this Fever team will dominate headlines, set viewership records, and attract millions of new fans. And for some players, that's the real problem.
Ourselves to the NBA, but I do feel like the pay gap would be something that, we could just take a donation around the NBA maybe. Maybe one night y'all don't go to the casinos.
I have something on this, though, because it pisses me off. It pisses me off because I don't think there's anyone in America that supports the WNBA more than NBA players.
100%.
Let's be honest, the WNBA has been a financial sinkhole without NBA support. The league wouldn't have survived 3 decades, even with Caitlin. The league lost $40 million last year. Caitlin represented a chance to take off the NBA training wheels, but here's the problem: when you remove the training wheels, you fall a few times. You get bruised, and the bruises, they're coming from real fans, not activists, not boosters, but fans who demand entertainment, who to criticize, who call out poor play, the way sports actually work.
And in talking to a source or two, it appears that Bonner was unable to, in some way, shape, or form, just deal with that spotlight, which is white hot, right? Yeah. It is just...
Some players aren't ready for that. They like the old W, where the pressure was lower, the scrutiny was light, and everything just rolled on. Caitlin's success threatens that. She brings expectations. Lisa Leslie once said it plainly: many players are not prepared for what comes with this spotlight. They've already floated strike threats. They think casuals will stick around no matter what, but if they keep insulting fans, media, and Caitlin supporters while demanding more money, that's a recipe for disaster.
And that's the worst part of all this, is the new fans are sucking the life out of the WNBA right now. It's just the truth. You are right. You are right, new fans. There has never been more viewership because of Caitlin Clark. There's never been more attention. They're doing 40 minutes on First Take about Caitlin Clark. They never did that before, as Monica McNutt called out. You're right. But you know what there was in the WNBA last year and the years prior? There was other storylines. There was joy. There was talk of competition. There was talk of what was actually happening on.
And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Some just can't stand that it's Caitlin Clark getting all the attention. They want it to be someone else. They think it should be someone else.
But it's interesting, for years, the WNBA players were pointing fingers. They were saying people are sexist, the media is sexist, we're not being promoted, we're underappreciated. And then they get the golden goose and they don't like what it looks like. Iowa girl, Indiana girl. Well, who knows, and I've said this for years, when the wave hits, ride it. You don't know what it looks like.
It's created a Caitlin versus. The WNBA dynamic and her teammates know it. Just listen to what Caitlin said after the Commissioner's Cup. You could hear it in her voice. She knows they're mad. She knows the target's still on her back, and she's not backing down.
Guys, I just know everybody in the league is sick.
They voted her 9th. She's clearly in the top 3. They're furious she won a title without playing. And guess what? The rough play will continue. The refs will look the other way. The hate will grow, but so will Caitlin. And like she said, they're sick. That line. It's already a prophecy.